Tuesday, April 22nd, regular class, as we're going to get a little bit farther into Outsiders through Chapter 5 and a few other things from there. Let's see. Quiz is graded and up on Skyward unless you just turned it in, and you'll have to wait a bit. So tomorrow's ILR, it is English again. I believe tomorrow's is the essay, which means it's probably not going to take the entire 2 hours or however long you're going to spend writing essay. If you did not finish today's ILR, they will have you finish it after you do the essay tomorrow. And then next Tuesday, Wednesday will be the math ones. But that, as far as I know, is the ILR goes as far as that. We apparently have had a number of kids contact wanting to order camp shirts or hoodies. So if you did not get a camp shirt or a hoodie the first time and now you would like one, you can order it. The order form is put back up on Canvas. It has also been sent out to parents. If you don't want one, that's fine. If you have one, you're good to go. If you do want one, you have until Friday. Just figured I'd put that out there for you. Schedule. Today, tomorrow, we have the weird schedule with the shorter class periods except for fourth period. And then Thursday, we do have best, and that's when you're going to be picking your day of service activity. So day of service activity you choose there, and then Friday is normal. Our goal this week as far as Outsiders goes is we're going to finish Chapter 8, and we have another quiz coming up on Monday, and then we finish out the rest of the book next week.
What, already?
Yeah, it's a fast book. 180 there. Covered that one. Those of you who turned in quiz today, it does give you the late grade up to a 70%, and it did cost you the 3 B points from you not turning it in. So, after you finish ILR tomorrow, I imagine you're going to have time. Finish out the rest of Chapter 5. We'll get through a good chunk of it today with you guys, and then we'll start getting into like Chapter 6 tomorrow, just so you guys have an idea. That's your only real homework for me. All right. Let's see. Chapter 5, page 68. We got, how did they get away from town when they were escaping?
Train.
They got on the train. Who helped them?
Bill,
Dally. And Dally's, they just chose him because they know he likes to get in trouble a lot, and the fact that he has connections, and it turns out he does, is he's the one that told them that there's an old abandoned church in this other town. Old abandoned church in this other town. So they're going to hide out there for a couple days to let the heat blow over and then figure it out from there. So this is now Ponyboy and Johnny are on the run. Let's see, we're on page 68. 68. There we go. I woke up late in the afternoon. For a second, I didn't know where I was. I mean, you know how it is. When you wake up in a strange place and wonder where in the world you are until memory comes rushing over you like a wave. I half convinced myself that I had dreamed everything that had happened the night before. I'm really home in bed, I thought. It's late, and both Derry and Soda Pop are up. Derry's cooking breakfast, and yeah, apparently you gave me your iPad and I borrowed a pencil.
Oh yeah.
Bro.
My bad. I forgot.
Thanks, Mr. Roach.
No problem.
I'm sorry.
It happens to the best of us. Humans. Hey, I know where your iPad is.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I think we all know.
Derry's cooking breakfast, and in a minute, he and Soda will come in and drag me out of bed and wrestle me down and tickle me until I think I'll die if they don't stop. It's me and Soda's turn to do the dishes after we eat, and then we'll all go outside and play football. Johnny and Two-Bit and I get Derry on our side, since Johnny and I are so small and Derry's the best player. It'll go like the usual weekend morning. I tried telling myself that while I lay on the cold rock floor, wrapped up in Dally's jacket and listening to the wind rushing through the trees' dry leaves outside. Finally, I quit pretending and pushed myself up. I was stiff and sore from sleeping on that hard floor, but I'd never slept so soundly. I was still groggy. I pushed off Johnny's jeans jacket, which had somehow gotten thrown across me, and blinked, scratching my head. It was awful quiet, with just the sound of rushing wind in the trees. Suddenly, I realized that Johnny wasn't there. "Johnny!" I I called loudly, and that old wooden church echoed me. Honey, 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 honey. I looked around wildly, almost panic-stricken, but then caught sight of some crooked lettering written in the dust on the floor. Went to get supplies. Be back soon, JC. Who's the JC?
Johnny.
The reason
Johnny
I
Cage.
ask is that
Johnny Cage.
last year I got to this part and a kid was shocked to find out JC did not mean Jesus Christ. Because they were in a church and it said JC and he was
No, but
convinced.
that makes sense.
I'm like, I don't think Jesus comes back to write a note to Ponyboy, then like, I'm out, and then like leaves again. That would be a good story, but no, so I'm just making sure that I don't have anyone confused also. I sighed and went to the pump to get a drink. The water from it was like liquid ice and it tasted funny, but it was water. I splashed some on my face and that woke me up pretty quick. I wiped my face off on Johnny's jacket and sat down on the back steps. The hill the church was on dropped off suddenly about 20 feet from the back door, and you could see for miles and miles. It was like sitting on the top of the world. When you haven't got anything to do, you remember things in spite of yourself. I could remember every detail of the whole night, but it had the unreal quality of a dream. It seemed much longer than 24 hours since Johnny and I met Dally at the corner of Pickett and Sutton. Excuse me, maybe it was. Maybe Johnny had been gone a whole week and then I just slept. Maybe he'd already been worked over by the fuzz and was waiting to get the electric chair since he wouldn't tell where I was. Maybe Dally had been killed in a car wreck or something and no one would even know where I was and I just die up here alone and turn into a skeleton. My overactive imagination was running away with me again. Sweat ran down my face and back and I was trembling. My head swam and I leaned back and closed my eyes. I guess it was partly delayed shock. Finally, my stomach calmed down and I relaxed a little, hoping that Johnny would remember cigarettes. I was scared sitting there by myself. I heard someone coming up through the dead leaves toward the back of the church, and I ducked inside the door. Then I heard a whistle, long and low, ending in a sudden high note. I knew that whistle well enough. It was used by us and the Shepherd gang for Who's There. I returned it carefully, then darted out the door so fast that I fell off the steps and sprawled flat under Johnny's nose. I propped myself on my elbows and grinned up at him. Hey, Johnny! Fancy meeting you here. He looked down at me over the package. I swear, Ponyboy, you're getting to act more like Two-Bit every day. I tried unsuccessfully to cock an eyebrow. Who's acting? I rolled over and sprang up, happy that someone was there. What'd you get? Come on inside. Dally told us to stay inside. We went in. Johnny dusted off the table with his jacket and started taking things out of the sack and lining them up neatly. A week's supply of bologna, 2 loaves of bread, a box of matches, Johnny went on. I got tired of watching him do it all, so I started digging into the sack myself. Whee! I sat down on a dusty chair and stared. A paperback copy of Gone with the Wind? How'd you know I always wanted one? This was a book from, I don't know, like 1910, 1920? Yeah, long time ago. And then it was made into a movie in like the 1930s or 40s. I don't know, dinosaurs were around. But it looks all romantic-y there, but it was all about the Civil War and the fighting between the North and the South. It was like all a bunch of action. And it was like a huge hit at the time, so that's why he's all excited about the book. It was when I was a really little kid. Johnny reddened. I remembered you saying something about it once. And me and you went to see that movie, remember? I thought you could maybe read it out loud and like help kill time or something? Gee, thanks. I put the book down reluctantly. I wanted to start it right then. Peroxide, a deck of cards. Suddenly I realized something. Wait, Johnny, you ain't thinking of... Johnny sat down, pulled out his knife. We're gonna cut our hair, and you're gonna bleach yours. He looked at the ground carefully. They'll have our descriptions in the paper. If we can't fit them. Oh no! My hand flew to my hair. No, Johnny, not my hair. It was my pride. It was long and silky, just like sodas, only a little redder. Our hair was tough. We didn't have to use much grease on it. I mean, our hair labeled us greasers too. It was our trademark. The one thing we were proud of. Maybe we couldn't have Corvairs or Madras shirts, but we could have hair. We'd have to anyway if we got caught. You know the first thing the judge does is make you get a haircut. I don't see why, I said sourly. Dally could just as easily mug somebody with short hair. I don't know either. It's just a way of trying to break us. They can't really do anything to guys like Curly Shepherd or Tim. They've had about everything done to them, and they can't take anything away from them because they don't have anything in the first place. So they cut their hair. I looked at Johnny imploringly. Johnny sighed. I'm gonna cut mine too and wash all the grease out, but I can't bleach it. I'm too dark-skinned to look okay blonde. Oh, come on, pony boy. It'll grow back, like Daryl said. What's up, Daryl?
I've already read this. Can I read mine?
That's fine. So, the hydrogen peroxide is the little brown bottle that probably when you were a kid, if you fell off your bike and got like a scrape or a cut, your parents would like pour it into the cap and then they pour it onto your leg and you're like, ah! And you sit there and scream and all the bubbles come out of it. That's hydrogen peroxide. Turns out, apparently some of you guys are tougher than other kids. We're not going to try and shame them. The people who scream with hydrogen peroxide. But it also works on hair. If you put this into your hair and then go outside in the sun, it'll bleach your hair. I mean, not like, boom. It's more, if you're the kind of person who can go to like the pool in the summertime and the chlorine can make your hair turn lighter over the summer, it sort of does the same thing. Where it can make a hair go from the dark hair to the lighter hair, it's that sort of that same idea of what it can do. So they're going to cut their hair and then they're also going to blow. One of them is going to bleach their hair. Why can Johnny not bleach his?
Because
too
of
dark-skinned.
And so at one point they told us that Johnny, they say that he's either Hispanic or like mixed Hispanic or maybe mixed Native American, but he has darker skin. Pony Boy is like straight up lily white boy. So he can have white hair, the blonde hair, and be fine. But Johnny with darker skin, he's like, I'm going to look kind of different if I have dark skin and then have like white hair. So he can cut it, but he can't bleach it. Yeah.
I always thought hydrogen peroxide was a drink for some reason.
I mean, you can. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not going to taste good. But
I
yeah.
never drank it. I was like, I never even touched it, to be honest.
Technically, the reason it's in that brown bottle is because if it's see-through, if the sunlight hits it, it breaks it down because it's actually H2O2 and water is H2O. So when it breaks down, it just becomes water and oxygen. So like that's why it's a dark bottle, because the sunlight hits it, it breaks it down, and it eventually just becomes water, and it's not very effective. So a little bit of science for you. So technically, if you had hydrogen peroxide and just let it sitting out in the open for a while, you would just have really weird tasting water.
Oh, you're already better than this smell.
Because you're funny.
It's all right. We're not recording class.
Oh!
Wait,
I just said that.
Gabe said,
That was not me.
No, who knows? We said we enjoy learning science, and learning science is fun in all of our classes.
and what? Wait, what?
No, it's not.
partially. Mr. Brovicast.
Daryl.
Can't tell Elliot what happened, so stop talking.
Nope.
Dang it.
Okay, I said wide-eyed. Get it over. Oh, by the way, with
Oh, sweet. You brought some in?
I brought this knife in again. Getting jumpy. When was the last time that Johnny used this knife?
At the
Stab
park
someone.
at night when he stabbed
Nice
Bob.
done.
What was his name,
So
Bob?
this was just the night before when he used it to stab Bob. So in a moment when they're getting ready to cut their hair, try not to think about that.
Is it gonna be bloody?
I wasn't going to say that out loud. That would be awful. Okay, I said wide-eyed. Get it over with. Johnny flipped out the razor edge of his switch, took hold of my hair, and started sawing on it. I shuddered. Not too short. Johnny, please. Finally, it was over with. My hair looked funny, scattered over the floor in tufts. It's lighter than I thought it was. Can I see what I look like now? No, Johnny said slowly, staring at me. we gotta bleach it first. After I'd sat in the sun for 15 minutes to dry the bleach, Johnny let me look in the old cracked mirror we found in the closet. I did a double take. My hair was even lighter than soda pops. I'd never combed it to the side like that. It just didn't look like me. It made me look younger and scareder too. Boy, howdy, I thought. This really makes me look tough. I looked like a blasted pansy. I was miserable. Johnny handed me the knife. He looked scared too. Cut the front, thin out the rest. I'll comb it back after I wash it. Johnny, you can't wash your hair in that freezing water in this weather. You'll get a cold. He only shrugged. Go ahead and cut it. And I did the best I could. He went ahead and washed it anyway, using the bar soap he bought. I was glad I had to run away with him instead of Two-Bit or Steve or Dally. That'd be one thing they would never think of. Soap. I gave him Dally's jacket to wrap up in, and he sat shivering in the sunlight on the back steps, leaning against the door and combing his hair back. It was the first time I could see that he had eyebrows. He didn't look like Johnny. His forehead was wider where his bangs had been. It would have been funny if we hadn't been so scared. He was still shivering with cold. I guess we're disguised.
Yes.
I leaned back next to him sullenly. I guess so. No, shoot, Johnny said with fake cheerfulness. It's just hair. Shoot nothing. It took me a long time to get that hair just the way I wanted it. And besides, this just ain't us. It's like being in a Halloween costume that we can't get out of. Well, we gotta get used to it, Johnny said with finality. We're in big trouble, and it's our looks or us. I started eating a candy bar. I'm still tired. To my surprise, the ground blurred, and I felt tears running down my cheeks. I brushed them off hurriedly. Johnny looked as miserable as I felt. I'm sorry I cut your hair off, Pony Boy. Oh, it ain't that, I said between bites of chocolate. I mean, not all of it. I'm just a little spooky. I really don't know what's the matter. I'm just mixed up. I know, Johnny said through chattering teeth as we went inside. Things have been happening so fast. I put my arm across his shoulders to warm him up. Oh, Daryl, we just passed the part here where it said, oh, shoot, Johnny said with fake cheerfulness, and then shoot nothing. You kept talking about them saying shoot throughout the book. She just got little one. Ah, shoot. I know. Oh, sorry. Two-Bit should have been in that little one-horse store. Man, we are in the middle of nowhere. The nearest house is 2 miles away. Things were laying out wide open, just waiting for somebody slick like Two-Bit to come and pick him up. He could have walked out with half the store. He leaned back beside me, and I could feel him trembling. Good old Two-Bit, he said in a quavering voice. He must have been as homesick as I was. Remember how he was wisecracking last night? I said, last night. Just last night, we were walking Cherry and Marcia over to Two-Bit's. Just last night, we were laying in the lot, looking up at the stars, and dreamed. Stop it! Johnny gasped between clenched teeth. Shut up about last night! I killed a kid last night! He couldn't have been over 17 or 18, and I killed him! How'd you like to live with that? He was crying. I held him like Soda had held him the day we found him lying in the lot. I didn't mean to, but they were drowning you, and I was so scared. He was quiet for a minute. There sure is a lot of blood in people. He got up suddenly and began pacing back and forth, slapping his pockets. What we gonna do? I was crying by then. It was getting dark. I was cold and lonesome. I closed my eyes and leaned my head back, but the tears came anyway. This is my fault, Johnny said in a miserable voice. He stopped crying when I had started. For bringing a little 13-year-old kid along, you ought to go home. You can't get in any trouble. I mean, you didn't kill him. No! I'm 14! I've been 14 for a month, and I've been in as much as you are. I'll stop crying in a minute. I can't help it. He slumped down beside me. I didn't mean it like that, Pony Boy. Come on, don't cry, Pony. We'll be okay. Don't cry. I leaned against him and bawled until I went to sleep. I woke up late that night. Johnny was resting against the wall. I was asleep on his shoulder.
Johnny, are you awake?
I was warm and sleepy. Yeah. We ain't gonna cry no more, are we? No. We're all cried out now. We're getting used to the idea. We're gonna be okay now.
That's what I thought.
Then, for the first time since Dally and I'd sat down behind those girls at the nightly double, I relaxed. We could take whatever was coming now. Let's see my next picture real quick. Back here. The next 4 or 5 days were the longest days I have ever spent in my life. We killed time by reading Gone with the Wind and playing poker. Johnny sure did like that book, although he didn't know anything about the Civil War, even less about plantations, and I had to explain a lot of it to him. It amazed me how Johnny could get more meaning out of some of the stuff in there than I could. I mean, I was supposed to be the deep one. Johnny had failed a year at school and never made good grades. I mean, he couldn't grasp anything that was shoved at him too fast, and I guess his teachers just thought he was just plain dumb. But he wasn't. He was just a little slow to get things. And he liked to explore things once he did get them. He was especially stuck on the Southern gentlemen, impressed with their manners and charm. I bet they were good old guys, he said, his eyes glowing, after I'd read the part about them riding into sure death because they were gallant. They remind me of Dally. Dally? I said, startled. Shoot, he ain't got any more manners than I do. And you saw how he treated those girls the other night. Soda's more like them Southern boys. I mean, yeah, in the manners bit, and the charm too, I guess. Okay, but one night, I saw Dally getting picked up by the fuzz, and he kept real cool and calm the whole time. I mean, they was getting him for breaking out the windows in the school building, and it was Two-Bit who did that, and Dally knew it. But he just took the sentence without batting an eye or even denying it. That's gallant. That was the first time I realized the extent of Johnny's hero worship for Dally Winston. Of all of us, Dally was the one I liked least. He didn't have Soda's understanding, or Dash, or Two-Bit's humor, or even Derry's Superman qualities. But I realized that these three appealed to me because they're like the heroes in the novels I read. Dally was real. I liked my books and clouds and sunsets. Dally was so real, he scared me. Johnny and I never went to the front of the church. You could see it from the front. You could see the front from the road, and sometimes farm kids rode their horses by on their way to the store. So we stayed in the very back, usually sitting on the steps and looking across the valley. We could see for miles, see the ribbon of highway and the small dots that were houses and cars. We couldn't watch the sunset since the back faced east, but I loved to look at the colors of the fields and the soft shadings of the horizon. One morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Johnny and I slept huddled together for warmth. Dad had been right when he said it would get cold where we were going. Being careful not to wake Johnny up, I went to sit on the steps and smoke a cigarette. The dawn was coming then. All the lower valley was covered with mist. Sometimes little pieces of it broke off and floated away in small clouds. The sky was lighter in the east. The horizon was a thin golden line. The clouds changed from gray to pink, and the mist was touched with gold. There was a silent moment when everything held its breath, and then the sun rose. Man, it was beautiful. Golly, Johnny's voice broke inside me and made me jump. It sure was pretty. Yeah, I sighed, wishing I had some paint to do a picture with while the sight was still fresh in my mind. The mist was what was pretty, Johnny said. All gold and silver. I said, trying to blow a smoke ring. Too bad it couldn't stay like that all the time. Nothing gold can stay. And I was remembering a poem I'd read once. What? I think I have it here too. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaves of flower but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay.
I know I wrote that.
Johnny was staring at me. Where'd you learn that? That's what I meant. Robert Frost wrote it. He meant more to it than I'm getting, though. I was trying to find the meaning the poet had in mind, but it eluded me. I always remembered it because I never quite got what he meant by it. You know, Johnny said slowly, I never noticed colors and clouds and stuff until you kept reminding me about them. It seems like they were never there before. He thought for a minute. Your family sure is funny. We're going to pick up with this poem. There are a whole bunch of memes out there about the Outsiders and Pony Boy. One of them is Stay Gold Pony, and it comes from this poem, this last line. So we're going to get into it tomorrow and talk about what that last line means. But you guys already had a longer class with me than your other classes. And for some of you, that might be too much of me in one day. So we'll stop there. You don't have to nod your head so enthusiastically.
So remind me to stay away.